OC Financial Media presents, in association with CHL Mortgage, as heard on KTLK AM1150, from LA to Orange County.
Your host, Dino Katsiametis.
It's about your real estate. It's about your money. From your estate to real estate, it's Money Matters with Dino.
Welcome back to Money Matters with Dino on K-Talk AM 1150. If you have any questions for myself or my guests here today, give us a call at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616, or check us out online at moneymatterswithdino.com. This next segment is brought to you by CFAM Credit Solutions. It's our credit repair go-to guys. These are the guys that when you're trying to get a car loan or a home loan and all of a sudden you find out that your credit score has dropped to like 620 and you don't qualify for that A paper that you thought you did, all because you have a $29 cable bill that you didn't know you had when you moved. Little things like this, even to the best of people, happen. And I'm telling you, figure out a company that you can get with to have your credit monitored on a regular basis. Know what your credit is, because it's the most important thing out there these days when it comes to finances. And if you do have a small issue like that, call up CFAM Credit Solutions. They will help you take care of it. Just let them know that you heard it on Money Matters with Dino, and they'll give you some sort of a little discount from what they tell me. You can go straight to our website, Money Matters with Dino, and you'll see them right there on the homepage. Just click on it. All their information will be right there. So today, joining us in our discussion panel with the experts is Mr. David Sidoni, returning back from his debut a few months ago. And welcome to the show, David.
Thanks, Dino. Good to be back.
Glad to have you here. You were a true joy last time, and today you brought your partner, Susie Arrioli, and she actually just chuckled when I said you were a joy. Welcome to the show, Susie.
Hi, Dino. Thank you.
Why did you chuckle when I said he was a joy?
He is professionally a joy.
Professionally a joy.
Personally, he's a character.
Well, today we're going to be talking about craziness in the real estate market. What do I do now? I'm assuming you guys have probably been hearing about the rates going up lately, and maybe people asking questions and various things happening like that. But right off the top, is it going to affect the purchase market at all? Are they freaking out so much that they're not going to buy a house, or they're not going to be able to buy as an expensive of a house?
I don't think in the long run, I know there will be a small percentage. I believe it's a small percentage. I've seen a few people that pretty much were fence sitters and waited too long anyway. And so those folks were waiting, and then they're looking to stretch and really get to that top point of where they qualify for. And a half a point or a 3/4 point difference might kick them out. It also might just mean that instead of getting that 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, they might have to get a smaller house, or maybe think about a townhome as an investment first.
Sure.
So I'm not seeing as many people being kicked out because of that, mostly because since the lending guidelines have changed, people have had to save enough money to be able to come in with a more significant down payment, so there's a little more wiggle room for folks.
Right. And David, you're with Keller Williams down in Mission Viejo in Orange County, but what's the primary area you work?
Well, for me, because I have a lot of clients, I was born and raised in North Orange County. Susie and I spent a lot of time working the luxury division down in Mission Viejo and Coto de Casa and Ladera Ranch. I primarily am in Aliso Viejo, which is where my wife and I have settled. So, you coach soccer and you talk to people about real estate, and next thing you know, you're the listing agent in town.
Well, I guess that's probably the best way to go. You live, work, and play all in the same city.
Yeah.
Who likes to drive?
Yeah.
And Susie, you're also with Keller Williams in Mission Viejo, and you guys have partnered up.
Correct.
But you handle kind of a different area, right?
Definitely do. We initially were in Laguna Beach and Laguna Niguel. And from that point, we kind of moved inland, but we have a nice little pyramid set up with all of our buyer's agents. And Coto de Casa is a specialty area of mine, and we really enjoy the coast. So
So a little bit more of the luxury division?
Definitely luxury division, which we consider to be multi-million-dollar homes. And with that, we definitely get our buyers and investors the best deals out there.
That's great. Now, in that luxury division, have these rates, you think, affected anything, or will they affect the market?
People that are buying luxuries understand and they get it because they're smart business people in order to have that much money. We're seeing a lot of cash purchases, and the rates, if they see the rates starting to go up, they want to keep their money. They're going to go for it and lock in a rate. And you know that as well, too.
Got it. So up until now, the way I've known it, at least with my clients, and it seems like it's been widespread throughout Southern California, there's been multiple offers on every single home, literally within an hour or two, right? The house is gone.
Yep.
Is that different in price divisions, like luxury versus the middle, $400,000 or $500,000, or even on the lower of, like, say, $200,000? Or are they all just bombarded with buyers and multiple offers?
Well, in general, comping out the middle level homes, from 417 up to that 725 mark, it's easier to comp and know exactly where you're going to list the home because there's a model match. You walk down a track and there's an A, B, and C and D model. So it's very easy to figure out where you're going to price it. So those get priced correctly and immediately end up with the multiple offers. On the luxury end, how much extra is the 7-car garage and the wine cellar and the koi pond? So it becomes a little bit more difficult. So we're seeing a longer days on market for the luxury.
Got it. And what about investors? Is it different for them? Are they now looking at it in a different way?
I think that the investors understand that when the rates start to move, most of the time they're looking at their return on investment and what they're going to be getting with the rents. But at the same time we've been seeing the rates move, we've also been seeing the rents move, and we've been seeing the prices move. So it depends on what kind of investor you're looking at. Is it a long-term or a short-term investor? Are they looking at monthly numbers? Are they looking at appreciation?
Got it.
They're all hearing the bell, Dino. They know it's time to go.
They're hearing it, huh? It's funny you mentioned appreciation. In the last housing boom that we had, I would say 99% of the people looked at an investment property as an appreciation because it just none of them cash flowed. But everybody thought they were going to make $100,000 their first year just by owning it. Has that mentality changed at all?
I feel we just closed a deal with an investor from Dubai, and he just wants a piece of the pie of the California Riviera. So if it's bragging rights he wants, they are just in it just to have a property, whether they're going to hold on to it for a year, whether the numbers work. They just want to be able to say that we have a luxury home in California on the coast.
And he's from Dubai?
Yes.
So that brings up a good question. Foreign buyers. Where do we stand with that? We've done a show on that, and it seems like we've had quite a few people from China, and I heard Canada is big. Is there still a big group of foreign investors coming in? If so, who's leading the charge?
Well, in Newport, I think you hit it right on the head. Newport has a lot of Chinese buyers that have been coming in cash-wise, Newport and Newport Coast. The Canadian buyers, Susie and I actually have some golf properties and luxury properties in the desert, and you see a lot of the Canadians doing the snowbird buying.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't blame them.
Yeah, it's definitely a better place to be. So.
Yeah. You're listening to Money Matters with Dino on K-Talk AM 1150. We can be heard every Saturday afternoon from 12 to 1. And if you miss any part of the show, you can hear us on and see us, actually, because we got video now on our YouTube channel, Power Players Radio. And that typically, as long as Phil does his job right, typically gets it up by Monday morning. So, okay, guys. So a couple more questions then. We were talking about foreign investors just a second ago, and I just had a meeting a couple weeks ago with a guy that came here from Australia, and he was asking me a bunch of questions regarding financing and foreign, type of loans and all that good stuff. And he was telling me something that I was unaware of. Australia right now is booming. Like literally, he said it is truly the old gold rush days of California mining gold. The tractor drivers in the mines are making $300,000 a year. American dollars. And they have so much extra money available in the real estate in Australia, something comparable, he said, to Newport Beach, down by the beach, that would sell here for like 1.2 to 1.5,
Right.
Something kind of junky, but a good rental. It's selling for an upwards of $3 million over there.
Wow.
So he's actually putting together a $100 million fund to come here to the U.S. and buy luxury homes over here.
And what was his phone number?
Yeah.
Well, I will actually introduce you guys, because he's coming back in, I think, like 4 months or something with the plan ready to go. He's out getting the investors in Australia right now. But I was really just shocked to know that Australia was booming that much. And the reason why I brought it up is because we hear all these stories about a housing bubble over here. Are we going to double dip? What's happening? And rates have gone up a little bit, and maybe it'll slow it down a little bit. But then again, if this guy's coming in with $100 million and specifically looking to buy in Orange County, and he said a little bit in the desert as well, and a little bit in Vegas, and my gosh, that's a lot of new money coming in. I don't see the bubble. I guess I hope that it slows down a little bit just to keep it from becoming a bubble, but I don't see it. What do you guys think?
I think there are so many factors to dispel any bubble myths that it's almost too much to go through, because you really have to understand the history of the builders. You have to understand the history of how we lent money versus in the past versus how we lend money today. You have to understand the inventory shortage and where we're at. You combine all those things together, and there is no way that it's going to burst.
Right.
It could flatten, and that would be fantastic.
That'd be fine, right? It might actually be good for us.
Correct. Definitely.
Yeah. And, we've also had so many people underwater, and the numbers came out. We were at like 1.8 that came out from underwater last year, and we're on pace for another 2 this year. And if 2 million people come out from underwater this year, then they're going to be looking to upsize or downsize. And the fact of the matter is, the reason the bubble burst last time was people couldn't afford their homes. And if some realtor or lender called you and said, for the same amount of money you're renting, how about you have this house and tax benefits and become a homeowner, and it doesn't cost you anything? Well, that doesn't happen anymore. So now there's skin in the game, and I think that's changed it.
Sure. You're listening to Money Matters with Dino on KTalk AM 1150. You're listening to our panel of experts today, Susie Arrioli and David Sidoni from Keller Williams down in Mission Viejo, California. Truly some great advice that they're going to be giving us today here, and it's all for free.
Yeah.
And I want to remind you that I am a mortgage banker, and although we talk about many different aspects of money here on the show, I do loans. And now in particular, with the rates going up, I know there's a lot of people that have questions, a lot of concerns, a lot of fear, because, and I shouldn't say because the rates are going up, only to the people that were affected because they're in escrow right now. And if you just need somebody to talk to, ask some questions, unbiased answers, call me up at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616. Or you can check us out online at moneymatterswithdino.com. We'll be right back.
If you're a business owner or have a high net worth, it's important you have the proper insurance coverages. However, from a financial standpoint, it's even more important to have someone else pay the premiums for you. That's right, it's called insurance premium financing. In short, it means we use a combination of loans and secured assets to fund the payment of your premiums for your life insurance coverage. With this unique program, there's no need to pay expensive annual insurance premiums or estate taxes out of pocket or out of your company's cash flow. Your assets remain intact, protected from creditors, while your family and business receive the security they need. I'll bet you'd like more information. Simply call James Burns at 866-544-8825. That's 866-544-8825. Or go to whitediamondinsurance.com.
Finally, a reputable legal firm. CDA Law Center, a nationally recognized nonprofit homeowner advocate, one of the most trusted firms in the country for helping consumers with their loan modification process. CDA's attorneys have decades of combined experience guiding their clients through the very complex and choppy waters of loan modification. Call 877-499-4435, 877-499-4435. Finally, honest and ethical advice to gain real results. Call CDA Law Center at 877-499-4435. That's 877-499-4435, or check them out online at cdalawcenter.com.
Mortgage professionals, are you looking for a company that values you as a loan officer? One that can provide you with the tools you need to grow your business at your pace? Then look no further than CHL Mortgage. CHL Mortgage provides you with a full range of residential loan products and services. You'll be backed by an exceptionally trained team of professionals that can take your clients as seriously as you do. Your clients will be treated with dedicated service, personal integrity, and exceptional professionalism. You'll be able to guide them in the right loan with competitive rates and keep them on the road to achieving life's goals. To get started on advancing your career, call Dino with CHL Mortgage at 949-720-1616. That's CHL Mortgage, 949-720-1616.
Welcome back to Money Matters with Dino here on K-Talk AM1150. I'm here with David Sidoni and Suzy Arrioli from Keller Williams down in Mission Viejo, California. And we are talking about craziness in the real estate market. What do I do now? So before we begin, I just want to bring up one quick thing just regarding financing right now. This segment has been brought to you by Citywide Home Loans, and we have a new product that is the first one that I have heard of on the market, and that's the stated income program. And there's certain parameters, but now for those self-employed people that have a minimum of a 680 credit score and have a minimum of 30% equity, there is officially something out there for stated income that you can still qualify. The interest rate is a tad higher, but really not that much higher. It's worthy of looking into it. Call us at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616. All right, so before we get into the next questions, Susie has been nominated for something. And as you know, Susie and David are partners. So I just, I like David and all, but it sounds like Susie's, one-upping you here all the time. So I'm going to make you introduce what she's been nominated for, because I want it to come out of your lips.
You're really going to do that to me?
I'm going to do it to you.
I would love to hear this.
I had to sit at the luncheon at the table with all these nominated people, and it was an award for the Orange County Business Journal Women in Business. So obviously it wasn't me.
Did you have to hold her purse?
Her husband was there, so I got out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So it was nominated for Women in Business, second year in a row.
It was the second time in 4 years. So 2009, I was one of 2 realtors nominated, and it's all the women in Orange County professionals. And it was a huge honor. So, 2009 and 2013, the Orange County Business Journal nominated me for Women in Business.
That's fantastic. That's quite an honor.
It is.
My mom called me yesterday and said I was great. That's all I got.
I got it in print, so I'm good.
Excellent. All right, guys, let's talk about new construction. It stopped for many, many years. And from what I've seen and been reading out there, and it sounds like new construction's back. Home builders are building again. I know down in Mission Viejo, there's a whole new development. Something like 14,000 new homes.
It's going to be crazy over the next 20 years.
Now, is that a new city, or is that just a subdivision of Mission Viejo?
It's going to be an unincorporated area called Rancho Mission Viejo. And they are open now, starting with the 55-plus community, but they plan to build it out until 2026.
Wow. So how many? Do you have any idea how many units are open now?
There's they just opened on Saturday. They just released the first phase. They only released 4 homes.
That's it. Okay.
That's it. And
so is it going to be one of those things where everybody's lining up again and lottery for who gets it?
Because the market's appreciating, the builder wants to hold on to everything until the last minute.
Oh, wow.
Definitely.
Yeah, the Villages at Irvine had over 5,000 people their first weekend at the beginning of June. And I have a client of mine who is from Central Orange County and is a friend of a friend. So I told him I'd help him out and took him to La Habra. and there were 80 people for 6 units.
No kidding.
Yep.
Now,
So that's great for our buyers and our sellers, because if there's 80 there's 5,000 somewhere else. Guess what? We need some
Sure.
more homes.
Now, do you have any idea who the builder is? I heard it was William Lyon, but then somebody else told me there was a multiple builders in that area.
Based on what I know, it's going to be multiple.
Multiple builders. Okay.
Yeah, this time the 14,000 is slated for this year. I saw somewhere that there's 44,000 possibly in the next 5 years, but the builders make these plans, and then it depends on how the market reacts. And the way the market reacts right now, I'm sure they're sitting in the back rooms trying to figure out how quickly they can get things going and start to capitalize on the frenzy, the craziness of the market.
Right. So I'm going to say them out loud right now, just so I don't forget, because I have all these questions that popped up when we started talking about this. 1, energy efficient homes. 2, flipping homes. And 3, which let's just start with this one. What's better, buying a brand new home or buying a used home?
Well, buying a resale home, you already know what you're getting. As far as the area goes, you're set with your tax rates and things like that. When you're purchasing a new build, you can be paying 2% for a tax rate versus 1%, down the road.
Got it.
You're also going to have higher HOAs. You're also going to have possibilities of Mellore's. So you might be paying a little bit more for a newer area.
So what's the benefit?
A brand new home.
Yeah, and here in where we work in Southern California coastline, all the good property, the good land has been built on.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the coastal communities are oftentimes more sought after than when they're building up in the foothills.
Sure.
You're minutes from the beach. And so for that factor, I always ask people, what are you looking for? And if they're really dead set on a new home, I can understand that, but I also know that neighborhoods that are established and being in the cities that you want to be in, you can always have a contractor come in and redo the home a few years down the line.
The Strands in Dana Point is an oceanfront community, and we're here to help you. If you've got 15 to 25 million, we can find you an oceanfront home,
Now,
or at least the lot.
Is the Strands going to be, you think, competitive with Newport Coast? Is it going to be the same caliber? Because right now, Newport Coast kind of owns it as far as the big, most expensive homes.
They
in
own the
Orange County.
name on an international level. So people that will come to Dana Point and enjoy it and know it's just south of Newport Coast, they're beautiful homes.
Yeah.
They're exquisite.
Yeah.
And it really can depend on, public perception can be swayed by so many random things. Newport Coast is what it is, but it became more of what it is when Kobe Bryant moved in. And it's so silly that things like that will affect public perception of areas. Everyone's like, oh, Newport Coast, Kobe Bryant, Kobe Bryant.
I thought it was when Karl Malone moved in.
Well, the mailman brings a lot of rep.
So what happened when Dennis Rodman moved into the peninsula in Newport?
Cops
Actually,
were called a few times.
There was a big bust. The pricing went down, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that worked out too well for him.
So
It was more about the Worm's really ugly Hummer that he had parked in the driveway. I actually am privy to some of those deals, and it was very odd.
Well, let's move on.
Please.
Yes,
So,
that would be a whole nother show, Dino.
My viewpoint on new homes, obviously, if you're talking about a place like the Strand down in Dana Point, you're several $1 million. That's a whole other ballgame.
Exactly.
But in a average type of a community like Rancho, Mission Viejo, the new development, I'm assuming prices are going to range anywhere from 354 up to $1 million something, right?
Yeah.
And everything in between, mostly everything in between. What I don't like about new homes, and this is just me and my personal experience and the way I am, and people don't realize it because they get so enamored with the fact that it's new, but new comes with absolutely nothing. And you end up having to pay so much money to put stuff in there, including grass. I mean, most of them just come bare and you got X amount of weeks to put landscape in there?
Yeah,
That is true.
Yeah, and you are required.
Yeah.
And the HOA will give you a certain amount of time that you have to do that. The biggest false advertising and bait and switch is those big billboards that say starting in the 400s.
Yep. You're about 150 grand plus by the time you put blinds and carpet and grass in there and some trees. My gosh. All right, so back to new homes. Your choice, new or used or resale, as you people like to say.
Yes.
You people. We've become that now?
You people. The other thing back in the day was flipping. If you were lucky enough to win that lottery and get in on stage 1, 2, or 3, depending on how many stages there were, you literally could make a lot of money just by the time the next phase was built.
Right.
Are these home builders going to allow that? Is it going to happen? Is this happening again?
Based on what we're seeing, it's a primary purchase, which means you have to intend to live in the home for at least 1 year.
Okay.
Otherwise,
so builders are actually trying to limit that kind of thing from happening.
Correct. It doesn't always happen, but that's their intent.
Yeah.
But if you study the market and saw the last time this happened with Vegas and parts of Florida and Phoenix, the builders, it was something that worked for them, and then they took a bath because they ended up allowing people to do those flips. Or they had so many investors come in that they had too many renters on the property, and they didn't feel a lot of pride of ownership in the neighborhoods.
Yep, and that definitely happens. You're listening to Money Matters with Dino on KTalk AM1150. We can be reached at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616, or at moneymatterswithdino.com. So I had a meeting yesterday with an interesting lady who is educating real estate agents on going green, on energy efficient homes. And I got to say, I really don't know anything about them other than solar panels. Are you guys educated on that at all? Do you know much about it?
We are. I have a designation from the National Association of Realtors with green as the designation. So if we offer, just our clients to put in ceiling fans, that's energy efficient. If they do the appliances that are energy efficient, if they do hardwood floors, if they're into solar, like you said, that's right on. There's so many different options out there that make a house green, even newer windows.
Really? Mm-hmm. And does it truly save them a lot of money on their electric bill and all the other bills?
It really, truly does. I had a client last year who put in solar who had a pool, and she ended up getting so much credit stored by the utility company. She was able to run her air conditioning around the clock for free.
Wow. So it does. Okay, so I'm a little stupid when it comes to certain things. Hopefully you can educate me here. She was able to store so much credit that she could run her air conditioning. Why does she even need to work with the electric company? Don't the solar panels just take care of it?
I'm not really familiar with how the solar company works with the local utility companies, but because she was able to store so much, she could either sell it back to the utility company or she could bank what she had.
Oh, you can actually sell it back to them as electricity that they can then resell to other homeowners. Wow, that's interesting. Based on what I've
been told, so.
And what about home value then? Do those ugly solar panels actually increase your value? Or are they not even ugly anymore? Because I
think people that get it, and there's some communities that are already green. Ladera Ranch has a solar panel community, and people understand it.
I guess if you're not spending $200-300 in the summertime, maybe $400 on your electric bill, you probably don't really care.
Exactly.
Interesting. Well, what questions do you guys have of me on these mortgage rates or what's going on in the mortgage industry? Do you guys have anything?
I have kind of a technical question that I've been curious about.
I don't know.
Okay. Usually, where we follow the 10-year bond and we watch that in relation to mortgage interest rates, not a lot of people really understand the correlation or understand why it exists. But if you go back and look at the charts, it's there. Mm-hmm. Why are we seeing, in your opinion, the bonds, as the stock market continues to go up, why are we seeing this jump in bond rates at the same time? Doesn't that usually work in reverse?
It does. And this is the best way I can explain it. Everything I used to watch, I have a TV on in my office. I'm constantly watching this stuff. And everything I used to track, and it's cause and effect. This happens, then that'll happen. This happens, rates will come down or up, whatever it is. Nowadays, it just doesn't matter. I mean, something that should cause the rates to go down, next thing you know, they're going up. I can't even figure it all out anymore. And there's no reason for it. Today, or earlier this week, we have all this unrest in Egypt. And, this whole past few years, every time there's a major problem in Europe or, Middle East or wherever, there's panic in the stock market. People take their money out of the stock market, they put it in the bond market, and the more money that goes into the bond market, the lower the rates get. And instead of the rates dropping the way they should have with all this, they actually spiked up a little bit and then they came back down again a little bit, but it didn't happen the way it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain that anymore, other than ever since the big crash, there's no rhyme or reason. Sometimes things just happen. But the other thing that we now watch that we really didn't as much back then are the mortgage-backed securities. And I would say that rates actually even have a little bit more of a correlation to the mortgage-backed securities than they do the bond market now. So there's many different factors. And the one that nobody even thinks of, depending on what's happening with the banks and their pipeline, if they absolutely can't handle any more business, they might just raise their rate a little bit in order to slow it down a little bit. If they're losing traction to one of their big competitors, they might just lower the rate a little bit so they can steal a little back. And one of the things, and whether or not this is going to happen, I don't know, this is just my crystal ball, but basically rates went up a lot in the past few weeks. In my opinion, I think they're going to come back down again a little bit. Not to the level they were, but somewhere probably in the middle. And one of the reasons why I think is, first, it was a knee-jerk reaction. It just went too far. There was no reason for it to go that far. But second, these banks have millions of dollars sitting in their pipeline that they're going to lose money on. They have hard cost associated to those loans. So they have to make a decision here pretty soon of, do they keep it at that level and lose everything they've already spent money on, or do they lower their rates just a little bit and try and get people to come back in and close the deal, which is what I think is probably going to happen. So if you have a little bit of patience, I think it'll work out. You're listening to Money Matters with Dino on K-Talk AM1150. We can be reached at 949-720-1616. That's 949-720-1616. We're sitting here talking about craziness in the real estate market. What do I do now? With David Sidoni and Suzy Arrioli from Keller Williams, Mission Viejo. And we will be back after the break with the Ask Dino segment. I'm actually going to ask both of them to answer a few more questions with us. We'll be right back.